Donald Trump just cut Biden's inflation in half, including eggs down 30% and now below where they were on Joe Biden's last day. So much for media's doom loop, how tariffs will give us the hyperinflations. And yes, that sound you're hearing is Democrats crying their last good talking point is gone with the eggs. Now they're back to defending transgender operas in Peru. Yesterday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with Trump's very first inflation report card, saying CPI rose just 2.4% annualized on the month. That's way down from Joe Biden's last inflation read of 5.7% annualized. So 3.5 points in 28 days. The new numbers took year-on-year CPI down to 2.8%, which is a stone's throw from the pre-COVID 2.5. Inflation was lower than markets expected on both CPI and core CPI, which excludes food and energy and is considered the more reliable one for underlying inflation. In fact, year-on-year, core is now the lowest since April of 2021, before the Bidenflation nightmare began. Digging in, the biggest jump was housing, which is up 4% annualized, making up a third of all inflation. This was offset by falling energy prices. Gasoline was down 13% annualized on the month, and an absolute plunge in airfares, down 4% on the month, which is 50% annualized. Plunging airfares is a classic recession flag. People stop taking vacations, companies make you do Zoom, but hotel prices are holding up, so that might be more about cheap jet fuel thanks to drill baby drill. Interestingly, new car prices fell while used prices rose. That's interesting because tariffs were supposed to increase new car prices, while deportation should be lowering used cars, lots of extra cars for sale. That could be Americans downgrading from new to used, which is also ominous. The other big one is food. So food inflation dropped by half from annualized 5% to 2.5%. That's despite soaring egg prices. The CPI is on a lag, so it did not count the recent plunge in egg prices. In short, as Zero Hedge put it, goods inflation, stuff you can drop on your foot, is basically zero. What's left is services inflation, which is falling fast. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. If DOGE continues slashing federal spending, Bidenflation is done. Toss in Trump's energy policies, which have already dropped oil prices by 15%, plus the cheap eggs, and we could get inflation back to the 2% Americans know and love. I've mentioned in previous videos how tariffs get the headlines, but government spending and money supply are the 800-pound gorillas of inflation. If DOGE cuts stick, as in if Congress doesn't just respend it somewhere else, we'll get ongoing drops in inflation as household dollars no longer have to compete with migrant welfare and, yes, transgender operas. Meanwhile, the Fed is actually helping for once, perhaps because Jerome Powell hates Trump and is no longer doing favors for the White House. Either way, at the moment, the Fed is deflationary. High interest rates that reduce bank lending, that normally pyramids on the Fed's money printing, and ongoing sell-offs of the Fed's assets that literally cancel out dollars. We may yet see specific jumps in tariffed imports, but Trump is off to a heck of a start.
'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that